and that alone felt both comforting and dangerously close to breaking her open again. She didn't know if she wanted to explain what happened. She didn't know if she was ready. All she knew was that the past she had been trying to escape had resurfaced. And Andrew had witnessed the moment. She nearly fell apart. And that changed everything moving forward. In the days after her ex-husband's unexpected call, Emily felt her emotions slipping back and forth like a tide she couldn't control. One moment she felt strong, ready to face the future. The next, she felt pulled straight into old fears and memories she didn't want to relive. She tried to hide the tension from Liam, and she especially tried to hide it from Andrew. But both of them noticed in their own quiet ways. Andrew didn't ask questions about the phone call. Instead, he showed his worry through small, thoughtful actions, bringing her trash cans back from the curb, offering to pick up a few groceries, or just giving her a warm nod whenever their paths crossed. His presence became something steady in her unstable days. But Emily also sensed him stepping back a little, unsure if she needed space. Or maybe he thought she was slipping away from him. One evening, Liam had a school event and art show he had been excited about for weeks. Emily got ready quickly, putting on a soft blue sweater that made her feel calm. When they arrived at the school, Liam ran ahead to find his classmates, leaving Emily standing alone in the hallway, looking at colorful drawings taped to the walls. She was proud of him. He had shown so much strength during such a heavy time. Then she heard a familiar voice. "Hey, Emily." She turned and found Andrew standing a few steps away, smiling in that gentle way he always did. She hadn't expected to see him there, but she felt her chest loosen the moment she saw him. "My niece has artwork in the show," he explained. "Didn't know you were coming too." Emily smiled. "Liam has a painting here." They walked together through the crowded hallway, stopping at Liam's piece, a bright, cheerful drawing of a sunset. Emily felt a warmth in her heart when she noticed that Liam had drawn himself and his mom sitting together on a hill, watching the sky. No sadness, just them. "He really loves you," Andrew said quietly. "Anyone can see that." Emily nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. "He's been my strength through everything." They walked slowly toward the cafeteria where refreshments were set up. The atmosphere was light, people chatting, kids laughing, but a deep calm settled over Emily. She didn't feel as overwhelmed as she had yesterday. And she didn't feel alone. Maybe it was simply the comfort of being near someone who didn't expect anything from her. When Liam ran off with his friends again, Andrew and Emily found themselves standing near the windows, watching the school parking lot glow under the evening lights. That's when Andrew finally spoke the words he had been holding for weeks. "Emily, can I tell you something?" he asked, his voice steady but quieter than usual. She nodded. He took a small breath, not dramatic, just honest. "I care about you," he said. "More than I thought I would. And more than I planned to." For a second, the world seemed to pause. Not in a shocking way, but in a slow, gentle way, as if her heart needed a moment to understand what he meant. She hadn't expected a confession that night. She wasn't sure she was ready for one either. Still, something inside her softened. Being near Andrew had brought her comfort she hadn't felt in a long time. His kindness, his patience, the way he understood her without her needing to explain everything. It all meant more than she ever said out loud. But before she could answer him, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and froze. Her ex-husband had messaged again. A simple line asking if they could talk soon. The familiar anxiety rushed back into her chest before she could control it. Andrew saw the shift in her expression. He didn't need to read the message. He knew. He stepped back slightly, his eyes dimming with understanding and a hint of doubt. "It's okay," he said softly. "You don't have to say anything." "No, it's not," Emily started, but her voice wavered. She hated that the past had interrupted the moment. She hated that Andrew now looked unsure, like he had crossed a line. He gave her a small, polite smile. "Take your time. I didn't mean to overwhelm you." The air between them changed, not in a harsh way, but in a fragile way. Emily wanted to reach for him, to tell him that his confession didn't scare her, that it actually warmed something deep inside her. But her heart was tangled in too many old memories, and she didn't want to say something she couldn't follow through on. Liam rushed back at that moment, excited to show her another painting. Emily forced a smile and gave him her full attention, but she still felt the weight of Andrew's confession hanging in the air. When she glanced toward the window, she saw him quietly slipping out of the cafeteria. He didn't look upset, just thoughtful, like a man who didn't want to add pressure to someone already holding too much. That night, as Emily lay in bed, she kept replaying his words. "I care about you." Simple, honest, kind. She felt something deep inside her shift again. Not out of fear, but out of recognition. Andrew wasn't part of her old life. He wasn't tied to her pain or her past. He was a possibility, a new beginning waiting patiently for her to step toward it. But before she could move forward, she needed to face the emotions she had spent months burying. And that journey, she knew, wouldn't be easy. Still, she wasn't as afraid anymore, because someone unexpected had shown her that healing didn't have to happen alone. And that love, even the quiet kind, arrives exactly when the heart is ready to notice it. The night after the school event felt heavier than Emily expected. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Andrew's soft confession, and the way he stepped back the moment her past interrupted their moment. She hated that her ex-husband's message had shaken her so quickly, almost pulling her into the emotional storm she had worked so hard to calm. She kept replaying the scene, Andrew's warm eyes turning unsure, his gentle smile fading into quiet distance. The truth was simple. She cared about him too. But caring scared her. Trusting someone again felt like stepping across a bridge she wasn't sure was strong enough to hold her weight. She had spent months trying to rebuild her life, brick by brick, only to feel it shake whenever the past returned. The next morning started quietly. Liam was eating cereal at the kitchen table when he looked up, studying her face. "Mom, did something happen last night?" Emily hesitated. "Why do you ask? You look like you're thinking too much," he said with innocent honesty. She sat beside him, brushing a hand through his hair. "I'm okay. Just figuring out a few things." Liam squinted like he was trying to solve a mystery. "Is it about Andrew?" His question surprised her. "Why do you say that?" "Because you smile more when he's around," Liam said simply. "And you breathe easier. You look like you're not carrying everything by yourself." Emily felt something soft and warm rise inside her chest. Sometimes kids understand emotions better than adults. Liam wasn't judging her, and he wasn't pushing her. He was just telling the truth he had seen in her eyes. She sighed. "I just don't know if I'm ready for something new." Liam shrugged in his calm, wise way. "Maybe you don't have to be ready for everything. You can start slow, like walking instead of running." His words settled deep in her heart. She had been trying so hard to protect him, but she never realized how much he was helping her. The strength he showed, the small gestures, the way he always sat by her when she seemed sad. Liam had carried her through the hardest months without ever being asked. Later that afternoon, while cleaning the living room, Emily kept thinking about Andrew. She remembered how he listened without trying to fix everything, how he never pushed her, how he treated Liam with kindness and patience. He wasn't trying to replace anyone or fill a role. He was just himself, and that was enough to make her feel safe. She realized something important. Healing didn't mean pretending the past never happened. It meant allowing the future to exist too. So, after a long breath, She made a decision. She stepped outside and walked next door. Her heart raced, but there was something steady inside her. A confidence she hadn't felt in months. She knocked gently. Andrew opened the door, looking surprised. His expression carried both hope and hesitation. "Emily? Hey, everything okay?" She nodded, though she felt her heart beating in her throat. "Can we talk?" He stepped aside to let her in, but she stayed on the porch, wanting the open space around her. "I'm sorry for how things went yesterday," she began. "Your words meant more to me than you know. I froze. Not because I don't care, but because I didn't know if I was ready to feel anything again." Andrew listened carefully, his eyes soft but steady. "You don't owe me an explanation," he said gently. "I meant what I said, but I don't want to rush you or make things harder for you." She shook her head. "You're not making anything harder. You're one of the few things making this whole period easier." "I didn't expect that. I didn't expect you." A small smile touched his lips, the kind that lit up his eyes without needing a single word. "I want to take things slow," Emily said softly. "I want a fresh start, but at a pace I can handle. If you're okay with that." Andrew took a breath that sounded almost like relief. "Emily, I'll take whatever pace you choose. Slow is fine. Gentle is fine. I'm not going anywhere." Emma drove through the dark roads with her hands shaking on the steering wheel, trying to keep her breathing steady. She didn't look back at the house she had just left, because she knew if she did, her heart might break all over again. Hours earlier, she had discovered the betrayal she never imagined would touch her life. It wasn't loud or dramatic, no shouting, no confrontation, but the moment she saw the truth, something deep inside her went quiet. It was the kind of silence that hurt more than words. She packed fast, stuffing a few clothes into a bag and dressing her son Noah in his warm jacket. He was only 8, half asleep, confused but trusting every decision she made. Emma whispered that they were going on a small trip, and he nodded, too tired to ask more. She lifted him into the car, her heart heavy but determined to escape before her emotions trapped her again. The road to the river campsite felt endless, but the open sky helped her breathe. She drove with the windows cracked, letting the cold air hit her face. She needed that air. She needed the night to hide her tears, to give her strength until morning. Every mile she put between herself and the life she had left felt like a tiny victory, one she desperately needed. By the time she reached the Northern Oregon campsite, the moon was high. The river nearby shimmered like a long silver ribbon, calming but lonely. Emma parked near a cluster of tall pine trees. The scent of earth and water filled the air, reminding her of summers before life became complicated. She stepped out quietly, carrying Noah to the small tent area she had set up during a previous weekend trip. She laid him down, covered him gently, and finally allowed herself to sit on the cold ground, feeling the weight of everything settle inside her. The night was quiet except for the sound of the river. Emma listened to it like it was the only thing keeping her heart from collapsing. She didn't cry loudly. She just let the tears roll down without fighting them. The betrayal she had discovered felt like a punch that kept echoing in her chest. She had tried so hard to hold everything together, to be strong, to be understanding, but the truth had torn through her hope. By sunrise, everything looked different. The early morning light made the river glow softly, and the campsite felt less like an escape and more like a place she could rebuild herself. Noah woke up cheerful, unaware of the storm inside her. He ran toward the riverbank immediately, skipping in his small boots, excited to be outdoors. His laughter was the first sound that brought warmth back to Emma's tired heart. She watched him throw stones into the water, counting how many times they bounced. Seeing him happy gave her the strength she lacked the night before. As Noah played, Emma noticed a man on the other side of the campsite. He was tall, wearing a simple grey hoodie, repairing a wooden canoe with slow, steady movements. His presence stood out not because he was striking, but because he looked calm in a way that felt rare. He glanced in her direction and gave a small, polite nod. She nodded back, feeling suddenly aware of how exhausted she must look. Moments later, Noah slipped on a rock near the river. He didn't fall, but he stumbled enough for Emma's heart to jump. Before she could react, the man called out in a warm voice, "Careful there, buddy. Those rocks are tricky in the morning." Noah laughed, brushing it off, and Emma mouthed a quick thank you to the stranger. He smiled, then returned to his canoe, but his kindness lingered in her mind longer than she expected. Emma made breakfast on a small portable stove, trying to focus on simple tasks: cooking eggs, pouring juice, tying Noah's shoelaces. Every small action grounded her. She thought about the life she had left behind, about the trust that had been broken. She wondered how long she could stay here, how long she could keep Noah safe from the confusion that would eventually catch up with them. But for now, being here was enough. The man from earlier walked by later in the morning, carrying a toolbox. Noah waved at him like they were already friends. The man waved back, offering a small smile that didn't feel intrusive. Emma found herself wondering who he was, why he was here alone, why he seemed so at peace. She brushed the thought aside, reminding herself she wasn't here to meet anyone or start anything new. She was here to breathe, to heal, to give her heart space to recover. Yet, something about the campsite, the river, the quiet, the stranger's gentle presence made her feel slightly less alone. She wasn't ready to trust again, not even a little, but the soft calm of the morning felt like the first step toward finding herself again. As Noah ran ahead, laughing freely, Emma took a deep breath. The hurt was still inside her, but the air around her felt lighter. Maybe this place wasn't just an escape. Maybe it was the start of something different, something steady, something healing. She didn't know what would happen next, but for the first time in a long time, she felt something close to hope. The next morning at the campsite was brighter than Emma expected. Sunlight danced through the tall pine branches, and the river moved gently, as if welcoming a new day. She tried to focus on simple things: boiling water for tea, brushing Noah's hair, folding blankets, but her thoughts kept drifting back to the man she had seen repairing the canoe. Emma didn't know why he stayed in her mind. Maybe it was the quiet kindness in his voice. Maybe it was the calm way he nodded at her yesterday. Or maybe it was simply that she hadn't felt seen, truly seen, in a long time. As Noah played by the river again, the stranger approached slowly, careful not to startle them. He carried a small fishing kit in one hand and wore a friendly but gentle smile. "Morning," he said, his tone relaxed. "Looks like you two picked a beautiful spot." Emma returned the smile politely. "We did. It's peaceful here. I'm Aaron." He introduced himself. "I'm here most weekends. Helps me clear my head." He looked at Noah, who was trying to skip a stone but kept dropping it instead. "You want a trick for that?" he asked. Noah nodded eagerly, and Emma stepped aside as Aaron knelt to show her son how to hold the stone and flick his wrist. Noah tried again, and this time it bounced once before sinking. His face lit up with pride. Emma watched the moment quietly. Something about Aaron's calm way of speaking, his patience with Noah, and the gentle respect in his movements made her feel at ease. She hadn't felt that kind of peace around her man in a long time. Aaron didn't ask questions about why she was there, or what had driven her to a campsite with a small child. Instead, he talked about normal things: the weather, the river currents, the bald eagle he had seen last week. His words were simple, but they filled the silence in a way that didn't feel heavy. Later that afternoon, Emma sat alone on a fallen log while Noah napped inside the tent. The quiet gave her space to think, that thinking hurt. Memories rushed back, broken trust, lonely evenings. The moment she realized her relationship was no longer hers. She closed her eyes, trying to push the pain away. But it was difficult. She didn't hear Aaron approach until he was close. He stopped a few steps away, respectful of her space. "Hey," he said softly. "You okay? You look a little overwhelmed." Emma almost told him she was fine, but her voice didn't come. Instead, she just nodded slowly, wiping a tear from her cheek. Aaron didn't sit beside her or reach out. He simply lowered himself onto another log nearby, keeping enough distance so she wouldn't feel pressured. "You don't have to say anything," he said. "Sometimes being around someone makes things a little easier." His words were simple, yet they cut through her loneliness like warm light. She didn't know why, but she felt safe with him, safe in a way that didn't feel risky or confusing. Emma took a slow breath. "It's been a rough few days," she finally whispered. Aaron nodded. "Life can hit hard," he said. "But you being here, that says a lot about your strength." No one had called her strong in years. She wasn't even sure she believed it. But hearing it from someone who barely knew her made something inside her loosen. Noah woke up soon after and ran out of the tent, asking if they could roast marshmallows even though it was still daylight. Aaron laughed and said, "Who says we need the sun to go down first?" The three of them gathered around a small fire pit. Noah burned his marshmallow almost instantly, making Aaron laugh again. Emma found herself laughing too, the sound surprising her. She hadn't realized how much she missed laughter until it returned. As the fire crackled, Emma glanced at Aaron. His eyes reflected the flames, warm and quiet. She noticed little details she hadn't seen before. How he tapped his thumb on his knee when he thought. How he smiled softly instead of widely. How he made everything feel grounded. When Noah finally got tired and curled up inside the tent, the evening became calm again. Emma and Aaron stayed by the fire, not speaking much. The silence felt peaceful, not awkward. "You're carrying a lot, aren't you?" Aaron said in a low voice. Emma swallowed. The question wasn't intrusive. It was observant, gentle. "A lot changed," she said. "And I wasn't ready." He nodded, like he understood without needing explanations. "Change hurts," he said. "But sometimes it leads you somewhere better." For a moment, Emma let herself believe that might be true. The fire crackled, the river hummed softly, and the night wrapped around them like a blanket. Aaron didn't move closer, didn't try to turn the moment into something else. He simply stayed, offering quiet company. When Emma went to the tent later, she paused and looked back at him. Aaron lifted his hand in a soft wave before returning to his canoe tools. She felt something warm in her chest, a small spark she hadn't expected, hadn't looked for, but couldn't ignore. For the first time since leaving home, Emma felt the beginning of something new. Not love, not yet, but comfort, safety, and maybe a path toward healing. And that quiet hope followed her into the night. The next morning arrived with a pale grey sky stretching over the river, hinting at rain. Emma stepped out of the tent and felt a cool breeze brush against her face. The storm wasn't strong, just enough to make the air heavy. She pulled her sweater close and watched the water move quietly. She hoped the day would stay peaceful. She needed one calm day, just one. Noah rushed out behind her, full of energy, holding a toy car he had brought from home. He didn't notice her worry. He rarely did, and she wanted to keep it that way. She made him a warm cup of cocoa, and the smell filled the air like a small comfort. While Noah sat under the tarp, swinging his legs and talking about fishing again, Emma tried to steady her thoughts. Aaron arrived with dry firewood tucked under his arm. He smiled as he set the pieces down beside their tent. Thought you two could use this, he said. Storms like that it's always better to stay warm. Emma thanked him, grateful for the kindness. Aaron didn't linger or hover. He simply offered help and stepped back. His presence always came with respect, never pressure. Noah brightened at the sight of him, asking a dozen questions before Emma could even sip her tea. Can we go fishing later? Can you show me the canoe again? Do you know how to make a real campfire? Aaron answered each question with a gentle grin, making Noah laugh more than once. Emma watched the way he interacted with her son, patient, calm, never trying too hard. It warmed her heart in a way she didn't expect. But the peace of the morning didn't last long. As Emma cleaned up their breakfast dishes, her phone buzzed on the camping table. She froze. She hadn't touched her phone much since arriving. Seeing the screen light up filled her stomach with a tight knot. Michael, where are you? We need to talk. Her chest tightened. She knew this moment would come, but she wasn't ready. The betrayal she had escaped was still too fresh, the wound still open. She took a shaky breath, trying to steady her hands. Aaron noticed the change in her face immediately. He walked closer but didn't peek at the phone. Everything okay? He asked quietly. Emma swallowed hard. It's him. He wants to meet. Aaron didn't jump to conclusions. He didn't ask what happened or why she had run. Instead, he said, You don't have to face anything alone. If you want space, I'll be nearby. His calm voice eased some of the tension building inside her. She nodded, grateful for the support. Later that afternoon, Emma asked Noah to stay inside the tent with his coloring book. She didn't want him outside when Michael arrived. She didn't want him to hear things he didn't understand. She stepped out just as a familiar car rolled down the dirt path. When Michael stepped out, the air around them felt heavier. He wasn't angry. He looked confused, tired, frustrated. Emma, he said, running a hand through his hair. You left without a word. I've been worried. She kept her distance. I needed space, she said calmly. I needed time to think. Think about what? He asked, his voice almost pleading. About us? Emma held her breath. The question cut deep, but she didn't let it show. About everything, she answered. Michael sighed and took a step closer. I know things got bad. I know I made mistakes. But disappearing wasn't the answer. His words sounded gentle, but Emma felt the weight of all the months before moments when she felt invisible. The betrayal she found by accident. The loneliness that grew between them long before she left. I didn't disappear, she said softly. I stepped away before I broke. Silence settled between them. The river behind them whispered. The wind brushed against the trees, and the world felt still. Michael finally exhaled. If you need time, I won't push. Just don't shut me out forever. Emma nodded, relieved he didn't raise his voice or start an argument. I'll reach out when I'm ready, she said. He looked at her for a long moment, then walked back to his car. Before he left, he glanced at Aaron, who stood quietly near his canoe, pretending to work but clearly keeping an eye on the situation. Michael didn't say anything, just gave a short nod and drove away. When the sound of the engine faded, Emma realized her hands were trembling. She let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Aaron walked over slowly, not wanting to overwhelm her. You okay? He asked softly. Emma nodded, though her eyes were glossy. I didn't know if I could do that. Aaron's expression softened. You did, he said. And that took strength. She felt the truth of his words settle inside her like warmth. She sat down on a log, and Aaron sat nearby, not too close, but close enough that she felt supported. The sky finally released a gentle drizzle, creating tiny ripples on the river. Emma watched the water move and felt something shift inside her. She had faced her past today, She had protected her peace. And she wasn't alone, not in that moment. Noah peeked out of the tent. "Mom, is everything okay?" Emma smiled at him, her heart softening. "Yes, sweetheart.